Hey everybody, it's your pal Mike Zombie, and this week we're going to talk about Zombie Apocalypse from 2011, a made-for-TV film that just came out. Well, obviously, it was a year ago at some point. And surprise, surprise, folks, I wrestled from start to finish on whether I liked or hated this movie. And in the end, it lies somewhere in the middle, a little more towards like. The details, well, like every other zombie movie you've seen, some of them kind of just are self-explanatory. Zombie outbreak, spread across the world, hit our fine shores here in the States, and of course shit went to hell. So we have a small band of people, starring Ving Rhames. And Ving, and that's what my first gripe, and this has nothing to do, I guess, really with the show itself. It's just Hollywood. I'm tired of seeing Ving Rhames in the tough, giant, buff, black, mean guy, military, cut-off sleeves, zombie fighter. You know, he attended Juilliard, folks. It's not as if he went to the Huck Spalding School of Dramaticism. I know that's a silly word I'm making up. Well, he's a well-schooled actor. And the fact that I keep seeing him in these stupid Chuckwagon movies just drive me nuts because he's got a lot more to offer. But hey, Ving, take the payday. So Ving pretty much picks up on the same role he played back in 2004's Dawn of the Dead. He's not a cop, he's military, but same guy. And I will say, and this is no offense, but Ving is finally looking his age at 52. You know, and that's going to happen. Yeah, he's looking his age, but he's still a bad motherfucker. Leading a group of people. And I think the story let them out of Chicago, headed back our way, or they somehow linked up. Initially, I'm thinking, I didn't know when it came out, to be honest with you. And I thought, wow, this looks a lot like Walking Dead to me. It really does. They film with certain filters and lenses, and, you know, they can capture a look. They can capture a color tone. They absolutely can. This movie kind of had the Walking Dead color scheme going on. And I noticed that right away. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. I looked at this ragtag group of people, and I thought, they're also kind of stealing characters from Walking Dead. I have no idea if this is going to fuck up the second half of this season of Walking Dead. But for those of you who have not read the comics, there's a whole world of people, good, bad, and otherwise, and factions and all kinds of things that may or may not have happened in the comic book, which is extensive, by the way, that have not or will not or just plain can't translate into The Walking Dead as it's floating down the river now. I immediately picked out Ving Rhames basically is playing the character of Tyrese, if you know who he is from the book. And Leslie Ann Brandt is a very beautiful lady, but I noticed right away she's walking around, of all things, with a katana sword. Or, you know, one of those type of swords. I'm not a swordsman, thank you. And she's walking around hacking off zombie heads. And I'm going to butcher this name, but I'm like, my first thought was, that's Michonne from the Walking Dead comic. So I thought to myself, well, you know what? I'm so into Walking Dead, both comic and show, that, you know, maybe I'm having zombie fever. I'm thinking, it looks like Walking Dead. I'm seeing Tyrese and Michonne, and they're kind of playing the part and everything else, and she's a badass, just like Michonne. Then, sure enough, they audibly reference, hey, remember that guy that we were with at that place, Kirkman? And I was like, okay. So it's a nod to The Walking Dead. I looked later, and yeah, Walking Dead was long in existence by the time this was made. So they captured the look. I think they've borrowed some of the characters, and, you know, in a nice way. It wasn't, you know, a horrible ripoff. And they specifically mentioned Kirkman. Of course, Kirkman is the creator of The Walking Dead. So that was good to see. They also did a nod to Romero. I'll try to remember to cover that later. This group is going, they're walking all the way to the West Coast at a very labored, tough pace because you have to fight the whole way. Now, they bump into a group of idiots. And these people were unbelievable for a lot of reasons. A trio, a couple of guys, and a young lady. Her name is Taryn Manning, and her character really irritated me from the very start. It goes through these periods of being la 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 la, and then someone dies, and though she stands there and just watches people die, she then screams at everybody else, why didn't you do something? How could you just stand there? That's a writing issue, and not, you know, so much how she's portraying it. I thought she didn't try very hard to portray the character. I thought she didn't find the character, and she certainly didn't feel the character. And I figured it was her first or second acting gig until I went on IMDb and she's got like 57 fucking titles. So what do I know? Everybody else I thought was fine. They had some likable characters. And Ving Rhames, I will say, while he is playing the same guy he played back in Dawn of the Dead 2004, he got to be a little funnier this time. I've heard Ving in plenty of interviews, and he likes to laugh. He's a smart, clever guy, and he likes a good joke. So he got to be a little more of himself, and I appreciate that. They're going across the country, but they really focus on the meeting when they bump into these people in California. I'm kind of laughing because I know the places where they're filming. I'm recognizing some of the studios. They have around here. They have like rental studios where there'll be a warehouse, and one room will be a dungeon, the other room will be a bar. One room kind of looks like a restaurant. And they set these things up so people can come in, pay a fee, and shoot there for a day or two and finish up to small shit. I'm kind of laughing. I'm like, that's okay. It's made for TV. They're going through Los Angeles. Luckily, there's enough decommissioned military shit around here that empty track housing is available. I'm not sure if they're doing that in Walking Dead, but it appeared they did that here, which is still actually decent housing. But since everything is moving on and being compartmentalized, a lot of this housing just gets boarded up and fenced up. So they had a lot of that to work with, which is good. Our heroes, they have all these little rules and they have these little rituals. And I recognize that if I had to walk from the East Coast to the West Coast and fight zombies the whole way, I'd probably have my own little rituals and things I do and rules. I get it. They take this group of people they find into a sporting goods store. Our rules are, you got to wear, we have to put you in long sleeves that protect your arms and legs, thick material, light plastic if we can get it, because they'll chew through cloth. And this guy dispensing all these rules is wearing a fucking t-shirt, and it's like, this doesn't make any sense. So there was a lot of things being said that weren't being lived out by the people saying them. And again, I think this is a writing issue, so I can let that go. I did make some notes here. Let me see if any of these notes relate to what I'm going to say. Oh, okay. And then I'm kind of getting annoyed by the blood. Now, the lady with the sword, I do forget her character name. She did fine, though. She would, kind of just wave the sword at a zombie, and its head would go flying off dramatically. I mean, it almost like she had hit the sword hard enough just to bump the body, and the head would fly 30 feet off. There was a lot of generic CGI in this, and that was a problem for me. No matter how dead these zombies were, everybody had buckets of blood shooting out of them. Every time somebody's head blew off, it was just almost like red smoke. It had that of just red smoke. I'm one of those, I don't know, I'm not autistic. I get used to patterns and I get used to repetition, which is why I'm good at remembering codes, numbers, patterns, and I always have been. But so I see the same thing over and over and over, even quickly. These zombies, they listed like 70 of them in the credits, but they kept featuring about 8 or 9 that kept being killed over and over, some close, some from a distance. But if you looked, you would see they were being recycled because they picked very specific people that had like something about them, like the girl with the giant boobs or the fat guy. These things were very prominent when they were being filmed, whatever it was. When you see it again and again, you realize they're recycling their zombies. But they had a bunch on the list. Way too much CGI. Everything was dramatic and giant, and it all started to look the same. Just when I was getting annoyed about that, they saved the day. They turned it around a little bit. They specifically pointed out, talking to these new people who apparently haven't seen zombies because they're having the whole process of what's going on and explain to people that are standing there watching it as well. They're like, well, there's different types of zombies. There's runners, there's roamers, and the longer they've been dead, the less they're apt to move. They're slower. And it was nice to have a movie, especially in the middle of today's fast or slow zombie, controversy, say that it's okay to have both. I mean, not to go into, they didn't go in and explain coagulation and rotting and things like this, things that you would probably know anyway, but they acknowledged it, and I did like that very much. I thought that was very important. And so just as I'm rising and falling in my interest for this thing, because I'm like, oh, that was cool, oh, that looks stupid, oh, this was cool, oh, that was predictable, oh, they said this, but they did this. I kept doing this wave. They said, well, where are you going? And they said, well, we're going to Catalina Island. And I said, no shit. Because, folks, I live in Long Beach, California, slightly south and slightly west of Los Angeles. We actually border the Pacific Ocean here. I can see Catalina from the beach. They said, Catalina is an island. I said, well, thank you. I've been there. I know. And apparently it's safe. and there's a ferry that comes and takes people, and that's where we're going, and we'll be safe, and we'll be happy, and life will be good. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, it pulled me back in because they're going to my hometown. They show the generic Port of Long Beach docks. It's close enough. I mean, unless you live here in town, you probably wouldn't know the difference, but we actually have commercial transport ships that run you out there in 45 minutes. So they're headed to my town, and I'm like, hot damn, they're going to have to pass right by my house. Now, things that I liked about this movie that even the producers probably didn't know, they end up going down the LA River, which you've seen the LA River in many movies. Just a couple I can think of offhand. Grease, the race with Grease Lightning, where they're, going down into, it looks like maybe a canal and a racing. That's the LA River. That runs right down through Los Angeles, through LA, down through the Garment District, down along the 710 freeway, which pretty much takes you right to my house. They end up going into the LA River Canal, and they're walking along, and I'm kind of laughing because I've seen it in so many movies, and I don't think they even knew, but they walk pretty much right along the path where several sequences for Return of the Living Dead was shot. Unita Medical Supply and the mortuary were both, well, the Unita building is there, but it's actually a residence now, and it was mocked up a little bit. The mortuary and the graveyard were all fake. That's a parking lot, and I guess it always has been, or an orchard at the time. Where Suicide and all the punks are in his car driving along really fast to go see Freddy, that's all along the LA River where Zombie Apocalypse, they're walking. It's just above on the road. And it's all still there. And you can drive down and take a look. In fact, everything is still there from those movies, which was real. Everything still stands. But I kind of laughed. I'm like, they probably don't even know, as they're making this new zombie film, that 1984, an epic zombie film was being made right where they're shooting. And you know what? They don't even know. I only know because I love that movie and I sought it out and went and checked these places out personally. They also reveal that animals can become zombies too, which I didn't like. So they show a dog becomes a zombie, and they kill the dog. And they end up making their way, with the help of a group they run into called the Archers. Oh, it's another thing that bugged me about this film. I don't like when basic physics and anatomy are completely ignored in any movie, especially a zombie movie. Like they show one of these guys, he throws a fucking ice skating boot at a zombie and throws it hard. Don't get me wrong. He doesn't loft it. He hooks it. And it goes through the zombie, like the ice skate goes through the zombie's fucking skull into his brain. That's just stupid. I don't like that kind of stuff. I also don't like when zombies eat the brains out of people's heads because you know what? You, listener of Little Dead Podcast with a great set of choppers, why don't you try to bite into a fucking skull? You're going to break your teeth off. I don't mind zombies eating flesh, but when I see them eating brains, I just kind of shake my head and go, boo, boo. I don't like the fact that the smallest of weapons and punches make heads fly off, or how easy we penetrate the skull. This did a lot of that. They make their way down to Long Beach. They're there. Ta-da! The ship's going to come, and they're excited. And the ship has left a note saying, hey, we don't take infected people. Here's the protocol. You get isolated for a week to make sure you're not sick. And they leave some food. They leave some water. And who saw this coming? 2 zombie tigers come out of a shipping bin that's, I guess, they're dragging bodies up onto to eat. And my hat's off to the producers for doing something that I've never seen before. It looked like crap. Too much CGI that enhances something that's based in reality looks great to me, and I love it. But when you craft a tiger's body and face completely CGI, it looks like a cartoon to me. And many of you, I'm sure, agree CGI should be used very sparingly. So as they think they've reached the end and everybody's happy and high-fiving, fuck, here come 2 giant zombie tigers that are about as nimble as regular healthy tigers and start fucking everybody up. So they fought the tigers, did what they did, and end up getting the rescue they had so hoped for. But it wasn't without a price, and they lost people along the way. A lot of people. And then they pull back and they show you like the landscape. They like from down below. They go up into the clouds and you see like a satellite shot of, well, in this case, it's the port of Los Angeles, a little bit of Lomita and a little bit of Long Beach, and you can just barely see my neighborhood right there. So I was so happy that hopefully I was up on my roof having a barbecue and laughing because I was well stocked. I don't know how it plays out. I guess I'm going to have to find out. In the end, This movie gave me a lot to gripe about, and I know I did a really shitty job. I almost forgot the thing with George Romero. I'm sorry. Ving Rhames has a little problem with one of these zombie tigers. Well, and by a little problem, I mean just got the shit bit out of him by it. And he's going. And in this movie, zombies turn real quick. You know, they bite you and you're like, fuck, I've got like 5 minutes. And then it's boom, boom, out go the lights and crazy eyes pop up and I'm off and running. He looks to the lady with the sword and he absolutely channels and harnesses the power of Scott Reiniger from the original Dawn of the Dead. I mean, and this bugged me because you guys know I'm a big Dawn fan. It was almost like, we got it, didn't we? We got him. We got him. We got that bitch. Talking about the tiger. We got that bitch. Whereas Roger was saying, you know, we whipped him. Didn't we whip him? We whipped him and we got it all. To Ken Foray. And then the same thing is said, you know, where Scott Reiniger said, take care of me when because he was dying and becoming a zombie. Take care of me when my time comes. I don't want to be walking around like that. And he made Peter, Ken Foray, promise that he would kill him. Same thing here. Ving Rhames says to her, you know, don't let me become one of those things. After the declaration of we whooped the tiger's ass, I stopped and I'm like, okay, well, I like the fact that you acknowledged Romero as well, but you didn't have to do it by almost duplicating the scene with Reiniger and Foray, but that's okay. In the end, I like this film, well, because they showed my fucking house, and that makes it extra special for me. And if you're from anywhere around Los Angeles, give it a watch. You'll laugh, because you'll recognize a lot of places, a lot of spots downtown, some spots up in the valley. Anyway, Zombie Apocalypse from 2011. I'm giving it a recommendation. I thought they did a great job to acknowledge the... Can you hear the fucking fire truck? I can't make this shit up. Last week, Zombie Farmer calls when I'm talking about boobs, and if you listen to Look in the podcast, you know how absurd that is. And now in the middle of this fucking fire truck. Hope they're going down to the port. Fucking some zombie tigers are causing fucking chaos down there. Anyways, Zombie Apocalypse, enjoy, and welcome to the new year, folks. Let's make it a good one, okay? We'll talk soon. See ya.